Dead Ringer was basically a remake of a Mexican Spanish-language movie from 1946 titled La Otra, which means in Spanish the other one, starring a former Hollywood star who was Mexican, Dolores Del Rio. Same story. And the irony is this: in 1946, Bette Davis played identical twins in the first film she produced, A Stolen Life, which was a big hit. So now here she is, 18 years later, playing identical twins once again. The British title, when it was released, was Dead Image, meaning someone who looks just like someone else. It could have been titled A Stolen Life, because if you see the movie, what she basically does is steals her identical sister's life and lifestyle. Dead Ringer is sort of a blend of a film noir in the 1960s, a star vehicle for a still very powerful actress in two very dominant roles, and it's also sort of a gothic thriller with camp elements. It's the kind of a film that holds you. You want to see what happens next, whether or not you're a Bette Davis fan. And then you may want to see again simply because you want to focus on Bette Davis playing twins, or on the story, on the supporting cast, the music, so many elements to it. Bette Davis was born in 1908, so in 1964 she would be 56 years old. In this film, and this is something that she appreciated, she came back to glamour, especially playing the rich twin sister, Margaret de Lorca. She looked good, she wore the wig, the makeup, the clothes, as opposed to playing the poor sister, Edie, who had frumpy clothes and looked blah. Bette Davis brought her talent to making the two very different from each other. Edie was very embittered, Margaret was very la-di-da, I don't care about anything, I have all the money in the world. Bette Davis was known as the fifth Warner brother, and she was their top actress for years until she was dismissed in 1949. Then the 50s were sort of a fallow period. She came back with Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. However, Jack Warner would not allow that to be shot on his studio. It had to be on another lot. He said about Joan Crawford and Bette Davis, "I wouldn't give you a dime for those two washed up old broads." And then it turns out to be a big hit, so then he's suddenly chummy again with them. Bette Davis pretty much approved the script. She liked the story, the suspense, of course, the identical twins angle, but like many older actresses, she wanted her character to be younger than she was. And you'll notice in the film that the twins are referred to as having been in love with the same man about 20 years before, which would make them roughly 40-ish instead of being closer to 60-ish. When I spoke with Bette Davis and asked about Dead Ringer, she couldn't help adding, you know, at the same time Crawford had a film, Straight Jacket, did you see it? And the thing is this, if you put Straight Jacket next to Dead Ringer, it makes Dead Ringer look like a multi-million-dollar production. Joan Crawford did a very good job in Straight Jacket, but it really was tacky. That's the only word for it. And she was holding out for the best scripts she could get. As she often did say to people, not everything I do is quality, but I pick the best of what I am offered. This film is an actor's dream. It's just what Bette Davis would live for, and she loved playing twins, and as she said more than once, she wanted to do more projects playing twins for the movies, for TV, and in Dead Ringer, you get to see her do everything. She slaps herself, she kills herself, she plays poor, she plays rich, she plays a chaste woman, she plays a woman with a younger lover. It's a real field day for Bette Davis. One of the bonuses of watching Dead Ringer is seeing this wonderful supporting cast.
Would you mind? I mean, if it's not personal.
I think Carl Malden was perfect for this role because, first of all, he's playing a good cop. And he does bring such integrity to most of his roles. Where he plays good, he is very good. He's like a hero or a pillar to the leading man. He is also the boyfriend of a very down-at-heels older woman, so you wouldn't want a glamour boy. Carl Malden also had this wonderful quality of being able to play opposite big-name actresses, Bette Davis, Rosalind Russell, and to hold his own, to be talented, but never to upstage them. And that's partly why he was in demand by star-name actresses. Carl Malden is a very talented actor who can play someone you really like or someone totally villainous, although usually played nice guys. So he was perfect for Dead Ringer as her boyfriend, who is a policeman with a lot of integrity.
Oh, Tony, I'd like to forget all about it.
I'll make you forget.
Besides interviewing Bette Davis many times, I interviewed people who worked with her or befriended her, and one who did both was Peter Lawford. He had nothing but good things to say. which is quite unusual for Peter Lawford because usually if you would ask him about this actress or that actress, he didn't always have something complimentary to say. Peter Lawford, who played the leading man in a sense in terms of being the lover of the rich sister, was not in a good place personally or professionally in 1964. But with Betty, he really was grateful that she hired him. She stood by him.
He was a handsome man, madam. Mr. De Lorca was also a fine man. He will never be replaced in this house, in our hearts.
Cyril de Levanti, a British actor who came to Hollywood decades before Dead Ringer, plays the faithful butler Henry. Now, Cyril de Levanti is best known for the film The Night of the Iguana from the Tennessee Williams play, which starred Richard Burton, Ava Gardner, and Deborah Kerr.
You must be Donna Anna. I'm Dee Dee Marshall.
How do you do?
What happened this morning, darling? I thought we had a date.
Now, Jean Hagen played the rich sister's best friend, Dee Dee, the one who reintroduces her to her gigolo boyfriend. She is best known, of course, for playing that awful but very funny diva in Singing in the Rain, which earned her a supporting Oscar nomination. And Dead Ringer was Jean Hagen's last movie because of health problems, and she eventually died prematurely of cancer.
One is so tempted to grasp at any straw when the immortal soul is in the balance. Thank God our dear Francesco was granted the mercy of a happy death.
Estelle Winwood played a matriarch in the film, a relative by marriage to rich Margaret de Lorca, very prim and proper, and she was known for being a very old actress. That was her main thing. She lived to 101. She worked with George Bernard Shaw himself, and she had this very small role, but as she said when I interviewed her for a British book titled Leading Ladies, quote, "Miss Davis felt rather sorry for me because I had a small role. I'm more memorable in a small role than many stars in bigger roles." Betty Davis was directed by one of her more notable leading men, Paul Henreid, from one of her biggest hits, Now Voyager, 1942, the one which is so famous still for his lighting 2 cigarettes and handing one of them to Betty Davis.
Do you believe in immortality?
And by the way, Paul Henreid's daughter, Monica, plays the maid in this film. She was starting out as an actress, but then gave it up soon after. And some critics said that's because she worked with Betty Davis. One of the fun things about Dead Ringer for a lot of people is trying to figure out in the scenes where you have the two twins, Betty Davis twice, over when is it Betty Davis, when is it the double? And in the long, fairly long bedroom scene where they first get together again and confront each other, there is a point where they cross over, and you couldn't do it in those days without having a double do it. And for just like a split second, you can see it's not her. Betty Davis's stand-in was Connie Cezanne, who looked enough like Betty Davis, especially around the eyes, that she was able to sit in the limousine in an early scene with her where they were together and Betty didn't have to reshoot it, playing both roles. The stand-in had a mourning veil over her, but you still could see through it. It was sort of opaque. Betty was very pleased with this and became friends with Connie Cezanne.
Use this. Shouldn't smoke, it's bad for your skin. I gave it up years ago.
Betty Davis once told me that she went to her doctor, and it wasn't about smoking, but he brought it up. He said, "Betty, do you know that for every cigarette you smoke, you lose 1 minute of your life? Can you imagine?" And she said, "Well, what does that mean, doctor?" And he said, "It means you died 20 years ago." She never gave up smoking, and as you see in Dead Ringer, when she plays Edie, the poorer twin, she smokes. She's a chronic smoker. Then as soon as Margaret de Lorca, the one who cares more about her complexion and does not smoke, is killed, and she's pretending to be Margaret, she takes up smoking and just says, "Well, it's my nerves after the funeral and all the things happening." So she is smoking constantly throughout the film. And it's almost a camp element of Dead Ringer because of course, she had this way of smoking. Not only she was the most famous smoker in moviedom, but she would use, and she told me this often, if you learn how to smoke properly in those days, you can punctuate your acting, your sentences, make something more emphatic by how you hold it, when you flick the cigarette, when you let the smoke hide your face. I mean, she used it as a prop. It was a part of her acting. And she almost felt naked, she said, without a cigarette. Betty Davis defined herself by her career. She said, "If you want to know who I am, watch all my movies. I'm there in all the characters put together." Her career, people said she was obsessed with her career, and to her that would have been a compliment, because she is one of those people who the work came first and last. Bette Davis was not afraid to be hated, and she shot more men than any other actress in movies. She could play a total bitch, she could play an angelic person. You could love her, hate her, sometimes at the same time. And there was a famous tagline attached to several of her films in the 40s, "No one is as good as Betty when she's bad."
Money's no object. How much would you like? You haven't got that much. Now sit down.
The longevity of Dead Ringer will probably be due to, in 2 words, Bette Davis. She is so compelling. Again, she was not a classic beauty, as she would be the first to tell you, but she is so compelling. She is both loaded with talent, willing to take chances to play characters who are hideous or terrible morally, and nice people, anything. She'll play anything as long as she's in front of a camera and give it her all. She has charisma plus. When she is on the screen, you watch her. She was such a strong personality, and perhaps this is missing in movies these days. So when you watch Dead Ringer today, you really get a double jolt in her twin role of star power and star talent. This is not Bette Davis's best film, not by a long shot, as she would say, and it is certainly not her worst. Again, she took a pretty good script, a very good plot, lots of twists and turns, the challenge of playing 2 roles who come up against each other. You do not have the good twin, the bad twin. It's far more complex than that. I think you will get a real sense of what it was like to be a great star, making the best out of the material. Regardless of what you consider the quality of the film, or if it's a campy film, if you call it a horror film, whatever you call it, I think it's a film you will not only remember but talk about. And even if she had a film that wasn't high budget or the best quality in writing, she infused it with both her talent and her personality plus, and made it a memorable viewing experience for all. And we're still enjoying her films and talking about her today.